hospital measured time with lights. They dimmed at night without fully turning off, as if rest were an optional suggestion. During the day, everything was brighter than it needed to be. White floors, white walls, white sleeves pulled up to reveal veins that had learned to cooperate. On the first night, she counted beeps. On the second, she stopped. By the third, the machines had receded into a background hum she could navigate without thinking, like traffic noise outside an apartment you've lived in too long. Her son slept. When he didn't, he watched the ceiling with the seriousness of someone memorizing it in case he needed it later. She learned the names of the nurses on rotation. She learned which one spoke softly and which one told the truth quickly. She learned that if she stood in a certain spot by the bed, the IV line wouldn't tug. Her phone stayed face down on the little table. She checked it between rounds. Nothing. Nada. How is he? Nada. Do you need anything? She told herself it was coincidence. Schedules were busy. People assumed she had it handled. She had always had it handled. On the morning of the third day, a volunteer brought her a cup of coffee she hadn't asked for. It tasted burnt and generous. She drank it anyway. At 11:42 a.m., her phone buzzed. Mom, can you send 4,000 for your brother's honeymoon surprise? We're trying to book it today. The heart at the end felt studied. Like punctuation, she read it twice. Not because it was unclear, but because clarity sometimes arrives with disbelief. She scrolled up, half expecting a previous message she'd missed, an inquiry, an apology, a sentence acknowledging the room she was in. There was nothing. She didn't reply. She didn't type and delete. She didn't ask for time. She tapped the contact, scrolled, and blocked the number. The motion was smooth, practiced, as if she had done this before in another life. Her son stirred. She put the phone down and reached for his hand. It was warmer than yesterday. She held that fact like a coin, turning it over until it felt real. That night, she slept in the chair with her shoes on. At 6:13 a.m., her phone lit up with missed calls from an unknown number. Then another. Then another. By the time she checked, there were 27. She stepped into the hallway to answer. The floor was cool through the soles of her shoes. What is wrong with you? Her father shouted before she could speak. The words came through the phone already breathless, already shaped into accusation. Your mother is beside herself. Do you know what you've done? She closed her eyes. She pictured the nurse's station, the whiteboard with names and shift times, written in careful block letters. She pictured the way authority lived here, not in volume but in rules. I'm at the hospital, she said. So what? He snapped. That gives you the right to cut us off. To embarrass your mother. We needed that money. This is family. She leaned against the wall. She didn't correct him about needed. She didn't explain timing. She let the imbalance sit between them, heavy and obvious. You didn't come, she said. It was the first time she'd named it out loud. There was a pause. Not remorse, recalibration. We assumed you didn't want a crowd, he said. You're always so capable. A nurse appeared at the end of the hall, already scanning for raised voices. Hospital ears were trained ears. Sir, the nurse said gently into the phone when she reached them, having caught enough of the sound to act. You'll need to lower your voice. This is a patient area. Her father's protest overlapped with the nurse's calm. The sound cut, rearranged itself. Who is that? He demanded. A nurse, she said. She didn't move the phone away. She wanted him to hear the authority he had never needed to respect before. This is inappropriate, the nurse added, still gentle, unmistakable. If the call can't remain quiet, it will need to end. Her father inhaled sharply. He had always been louder than rules until rules arrived wearing uniforms. This is unbelievable, he said, quieter now but no less furious. After everything we've done for you. She thought of the grocery runs she'd paid for when her brother's hours were cut. The down payment she'd quietly covered because it was easier than arguing. The way. Everything had always been a one-way street paved with expectations. I'm not sending the money, she said. Her voice surprised her with its steadiness. And I'm not discussing this by phone. So that's it, he asked. You're punishing us. I'm protecting myself, she said. The words landed without flourish. If you need to reach me, you can email. I'll respond when I can. You can't do this, he said, reaching again for volume then stopping himself. You'll regret it. Maybe, she said. The nurse met her eyes, a silent question. She nodded once. I have to go, she said and ended the call. Back in the room, her son slept through the exchange. His chest rose and fell with a rhythm that was not yet reliable but improving. She sat and watched it, counting without counting. Later, a social worker stopped by with a clipboard and a kind, efficient smile. Do you have support? She asked. The question trained to sound neutral. Yes, she said, and then, after a moment, I have enough. That afternoon, she received an email. It was long. It cataloged sacrifices and misunderstandings. It asked for grace without offering repair. She read it once and archived it. On the fourth day, her son asked for juice. On the fifth, he asked when they could go home. These were small, enormous victories. She texted a friend who had brought clean clothes and sat quietly without asking questions. She did not update her family. When discharge papers were finally signed, she folded them carefully and placed them in her bag. The hospital doors slid open with the same indifferent courtesy they always had. In the parking lot, her phone buzzed again. Another email, shorter this time. Less shouting, more bargaining. She didn't answer it. Not yet. Driving away, she felt something unfamiliar. Not relief exactly, and not guilt, though there was some of that. It was the sensation of having named a limit and discovering that the world did not collapse in response. Protection had a cost. She could feel it accruing already, like interest. Fewer calls, quieter holidays. Stories told without her in them. She looked at her son in the rearview mirror. He was awake, watching the road unwind behind them. Home, he asked. Wes, she said. It wasn't a victory. It wasn't closure. It was a line she would have to keep redrawing, probably for the rest of her life. But it was hers.